but the antibiotics that they use to treat it, which we use natural stuff, but I was so far gone that it wasn't, natural stuff is amazing, and I'm an herbalist and an aromatherapist, and I am all on the natural bandwagon. However, it works a little bit slower than some of the drugs that we have access to now. And I was so far gone that we couldn't afford how long it was taking, even though for most people it could be a good option. And so we had to go the antibiotic route, and I was deathly allergic to most of the antibiotics. I mean, deathly allergic. And so we spent weeks and months trying to just recover and get me back from the brink of death to the point where we could then try another antibiotic to treat the infection again, knowing that we hadn't made any progress on the infection. We had only brought me back from where the medication took me. And in that process, it completely destroyed my gut and digestive system. And so I became extremely, extremely malnourished, and I have lost 100 pounds and gained some back, but there was 100 pounds lost, which most of it was water weight from the medications, all of the medications that they were giving me. But I have had huge, huge fluctuations in my weight and have been days away from needing a feeding tube many, many times, but we have held off, and still we fluctuate with, oh my goodness, if something doesn't turn around, we're going to have to do something else nutrition wise. But I am making progress. So anyways, I went so far down the rabbit hole that we didn't think that anyone that was going to be able to possibly pull me out, and we definitely never lost hope. But it was some really dark days, and I have a genetic mutation where my body doesn't respond to pain medications normally, and so because of all of the seizures, I had to have pain medications, and because my body eats through them basically super, super fast. It doesn't matter how much morphine you give me, I don't feel high, I don't feel a rush, I don't feel anything. At best, it relieves my pain, but very rarely even would it do that. And so they had to end up putting me on doses of pain meds that none of the doctors I've spoken to have ever seen anyone on. If anyone's familiar with fentanyl, the medication, I was on 200 micrograms an hour of fentanyl, and fentanyl is 100 times stronger than morphine and about 50 times stronger than heroin. And that is an astronomical dose. Most hospice patients, so people that are, being treated because they're dying and they're just being made comfortable, 100 micrograms an hour is a high dose for them. That multiple doctors warned me, if your husband touches your patch, even after you pull it off, after the whole week that it's been on and most of the medication is gone, if it gets stuck to him, it could kill him. That's how strong this is. And so the effects that had on my body and brain, obviously, while I didn't get high and happy, it still slows things down and caused a lot of issues. And then getting off of them was absolute hell. We had 8 months of nonstop vomiting, hallucinations, out of my mind. So sick. I have so much compassion for people getting off any kind of a drug, be it doctor prescribed, or otherwise. I have so much compassion. It was the most horrific experience I could have never imagined. And I'm pretty tough, like not to toot my own horn, but ask my husband, ask anyone that knows me, I'm pretty tough. And it was awful. And so I wanted to die. I genuinely wanted to die. And anyways, now I am still on some medications. I am still on pain medication, but just as a reference, so fentanyl is 100 times stronger than morphine, right? And I was on 200 micrograms an hour. Right now I'm on 10 micrograms of morphine an hour, which is 100 times less, plus 10 micrograms instead of 200 micrograms. And hopefully, in March, I am going to go off of that. And we just have to get my nutrition stable enough so that I can have enough reserves, because I have gotten really thin. I'm almost 5'8", and I'm about 100 pounds. And so for me, it's not deathly thin, but for me it's too thin, and I I've been bedridden, unable to get, I mean, bedridden 99.9% of the time for 3 years. And so my muscles have completely atrophied. Everything is just withering away. And so we need to get me built up a little bit more and able to keep a little bit more food down before we can wean off of the last of the morphine. A, because my pain will go up, but B, because it just causes a lot of vomiting and nausea weaning off of these meds. But I am so excited to get off. I am just incredibly excited, and it shows how much progress I'm making because the seizures haven't come back with all of the weaning. I'm sorry, my cat is stuck here. I have to help him. I know. Here you go. Mommy will help you. Okay, sorry. He got his claw stuck in a blanket. And so, sorry. So I have been so weak. I mean, completely wheelchair bound. My husband carried me to the wheelchair, etc. And so now, even though I look, you know, my brain is back for the most part, and I look fairly energetic, so to speak. If I had to hold my own head up for this long of a video, it would really, I mean, everything would be shaking, you know, and I would have to take really deep breaths and really calm my system down just from exhaustion. And so that's, for that whole really long story, is why I'm doing these videos in bed. And for a really long time, I was like, no, I can't do any kind of videos until I feel better, because that's weird to do a plant video in bed. And it is kind of weird, but you know, the choice is to either wait for however many more months or years before I am strong enough to do, you know, a professional looking stand up and, you know, talk or whatever kind of video, versus laying in bed. And the plants throughout my healing have been huge. Like, they have been, my husband has said multiple times, and I have a lot of plants, you guys, like a lot of plants, and a fair amount of money invested into these plants. Like, they're amazing. And obviously I haven't been making a bunch of money. I've been in bed, and I do sell plants also, and have in off and on while I've been sick if I'm able, but that's been pretty small. So my husband's doing all the work, right, and buying all the plants. And he says that the money we have spent on my plants has been the best money for my health that we have spent. And I'm not going to cry, but he is a sweetheart, and I kind of agree. They have been so amazing and so healing and just flat distracting. I mean, being in bed for my personality with, I mean, I have owned my own business since I was 14. I had a great big store that I loved, that I was at all the time, that I didn't close until I had been paralyzed from the waist down and wheelchair bound for, I think, a year, when I was finally forced to close it because I literally couldn't even get down there once a month. I had hired someone to run it, obviously. And so I am go, and being trapped in bed with absolutely nothing to do is just utter torment. And so having them to just focus on, and they need me, if that makes sense, but not in some overwhelming way, you know. And so a reason to get up, even if I have to scoot along the floor and hoist myself into my wheelchair, that keeps some of my muscles, you know, working a little bit, right? And so even though I would have to do that, it was worth it because I could then check on my plants, you know. And it was motivation for me to do a little bit, and just something to do, and some comfort, and just lots of joy, because they just make me so happy. And I don't know how many times through my delirium my husband brought me plants and put them around me in my bed for me to touch or just feel their wonderful calming energy. And I have repotted so many plants in bed, you guys have no idea. I spread an old blanket out, and there's dirt and stuff everywhere, and we just roll the blanket up and put it outside, and my husband, bless his dear soul, tolerates every bit of it, and even encourages it. And so when I make these videos and I get up and I do a video walking around or standing up, a lot of times that's as much as I can stand up the whole day was enough to make that video. And I am getting slowly but surely more and more days where I can stand up for longer and longer periods of time and mess with my plants again. This spring I had some really great days where I was able to tootle around and do a lot of stuff, which was when I started making these videos. And then I had kind of a dip in between where I wasn't able to do hardly anything for a while, and now I'm coming back up again, and hopefully for good this time,